Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
What's happening? Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime with me, your host, Randy Randall, and my co-host, as always, Mr. Aaron Farley. This is our show for Monday, February 3rd. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing well. I was just actually watching soccer highlights. And sometimes you can only get the highlights from like Telemundo. So it's all like Mexican, Spanish-speaking announcers who are much better than any other announcers. I mean, I would say that I've mostly only listened to like British, like English announcers from Premier League and then US.
Fullback passes the halfback, halfback passes the forward, off to the pitch.
This is amazing. They're just really, it's just superb. And then you have the Mexican guys who just like make the game so much more exciting. And I was, I think I was just telling Michelle that I want to be on the search for an English-speaking Mexican announcer so that I can understand what. Because I can get a little bit of Spanish, but then when it's so fast, and I'm like, there's no way, even if I knew Spanish, that like there's so much soccer lingo and all stuff that I don't know, that if I could get some of the English language, so I don't have to have the subtitles, but then the energy of the goal and the announcers. I mean, it's like they're dribbling the ball halfway down the field, and it's like. The team has scored and won the World Cup.
It's the most exciting thing you've ever heard.
Yeah,
well, this was famously parodied on the Simpsons soccer episode.
Oh, was it?
Where soccer came to Springfield, and you have the American announcers doing the very dry. Okay, the fullback passes the halfback passes the fullback.
Oh my god!
Oh, back to the fullback. Oh, up to the defender. No, back to the forward. Okay. Right. Oh, a shot. No, okay, denied. And then they pan over to the Mexican thing. Hey, the fullback, the go! You know,
is it the guy in the bee suit?
No, Bumblebee Man.
Bumblebee Man.
He's definitely in there somewhere.
He definitely had to be.
But they had to get the paella man. You know, they sling the fresh paella in the stands. You know.
Yeah.
And then there's Arriaga 2. You know, coming to Springfield this Sunday. Soccer, world-class soccer, featuring all your favorite players. Arriaga 2, and Pele. And Pele comes out and just gets a big bag of cash for saying some product is his favorite mango sauce ever or something.
All right. We're going to have to watch that next time we're together.
Anything from Simpsons from season 3 to 11. I'm gold.
Those are your years?
Yeah. Well, because I think in Southern California, we had The Simpsons syndicated on the same Fox channel. So there were new episodes will come out every Sunday night.
Yeah.
But then you had 5 days, two Simpsons a day. There was like a 5 o'clock and then like a 7:30 Simpsons. So I had 5 days. So I had 10 Simpsons episodes during the week and then a new one on Sunday. So I was watching at least 11 Simpsons episodes every week. So 44 Simpsons episodes a month. You know, you can extrapolate the math from probably age like 10 till 18. We're probably at 8 years of watching 44 Simpsons episodes a week.
And really only like 8 years worth of Simpsons too. So then,
Simpsons from when they came out and then till, you know, like 99 or 2000.
Are they still doing new Simpsons?
Apparently they are.
Where do we see those?
Writers they air on
Fox still?
On the broadcast show, you know, channel 11 here in Southern California, Fox. But then they also make ones now that are only for Disney Plus to encourage people to pay for the Disney Plus subscription. But on Disney Plus, really? They have the entire 35 years, I think it is, or 36 years, whatever.
I do remember watching when we had Disney Plus for a while, watching The Simpsons with the kids, and they loved them.
They were in the wrong aspect ratio when they first put them up there because it was the 4:3 from the original, you know, when the television side, and they cropped them in to fit them into the longer Panavision,
they cropped them in instead of just like keep leaving the black space.
Yeah, when Disney Plus first aired, or when it first started,
what a weird decision.
And I think that took them a year or two to then.
Why wouldn't they just put the black bars? Just keep the black bars, man. No one cares.
They didn't know what they're doing. They thought people wanted everything in that format, so they fucked up.
I'm gonna tell you this. I bet a 25-year-old made that decision.
Probably, yeah. Just
crop it.
What do you mean?
Listen,
it doesn't matter.
No one's gonna watch this.
Yeah.
Listen, this is not going to be...
I should say they have all the episodes except the Michael Jackson episode, which I think has been pulled from syndication.
Really?
Of the Simpsons producers. Once all the allegations, everything came out.
Wow.
I think you probably can get on YouTube, though. I'm sure they're probably always swatting it down. But it's out there.
They probably put it like Simpsons, not the Michael Jackson episode. That's how you find it.
For Fox attorneys, this is not the one you're looking for.
Yeah, just name it the Bill Cosby episode. Oh wait, no.
The pudding.
There was one of those too, wasn't there?
Not a whole episode, but he's being made fun of. Dr. Hibbert is basically an entire
Phil Huxtable.
Yeah, exactly. Phil Huxtable.
Wasn't that his name? Cliff.
Right?
Phil, Cliff. I mean, come on, that's the same name.
Cliff Huxtable.
Phil and Cliff. This shows you how old I am.
I do have the entire Cosby series on DVD.
Do you?
I do.
You know what? Right after the allegations, I realized too, like I was going through a box, and I've gone through multiple thrifting stages in my life of collecting weird stuff, and not even that weird.
Those
but
Cosby records are good.
Very specific. I don't have any Cosby records.
Oh man, I have all of them.
But I do. I have the original Jet magazine that Cosby was on the cover of, but it's like a little 4x6. It's like when Jet magazine was like a pamphlet.
Oh, weird!
And I found it at
the size of
like a zine. It's like a 5x7 kind of.
Yeah, I'm trying. We're like remember not Reader's Digest, but like TV Guide. Remember
but even smaller. It's almost like the size of a zine, like something you would like a punk zine or something. And so I had that, and then all the allegations came out, and I'm like, this is either going to be worth a lot more money or no money, or no one's going to care. Yeah. Turns out I don't think anyone cares. It's a little weird.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about Cosby anymore. But but the Simpsons. Hey, I mean nothing. Yeah. No one from the Simpsons ever been accused of riding on the Lolita Express to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
No, not that we know of.
Unless you're Matt Groening. If your name is Matt Groening, you're the creator, and you're on the flight logs of the Lolita Express.
Oh my God. Hey man, I just thought it was a party. I mean, who doesn't want to go to an island?
I mean, Stephen Hawking was also on the flight log.
All were. So Bill Gates, and they all were like, oh my God. Are we going conspiracy there? No. Are we going Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent? Which I think that's pretty much true. I think at this point, allegedly. I mean, do you have to say allegedly anymore since he is unalived?
I have no idea. I do know there's been a lot of plane problems happening in the news recently. I don't know if you noticed.
Weird, right?
Several plane things.
It's weird
within a week.
When like the FAA goes away and federal employees are told to not come to work and all sorts of things. Like turns out
they oversee maybe aren't working correctly.
Turns out things are pretty fragile in general. I think all of the things.
I'm fragile in general. When I was doing the intros and outros to last week's episode, I felt like I was about to cry. I was like having such a tough time. I'm like, okay, I got to record these intros, outros. I loved the interview with Brian. I was happy with how the interview turned out. But then now, just looking at headlines and news, like I have to not look at things before recording these intros and outros. It was really like,
you're like, oh, that moment when the two countries that are above us and below us now hate us for good reason. Good. Okay. How long has this guy been president? Oh, a week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay. You're right. This sounds like
everything going exactly according to plan.
Do you guys remember how this went the first time? I think like there was a reason why he had a 20% approval rating on his way out. Come on.
Come on. Anyway, I like you've sent me several good memes.
Oh, which ones?
Should be
the music stuff?
Well, it was the popcorn free jazz drum solo.
That one was
like
good
popcorn
today,
popping
right?
over contact mics.
Yeah. With the little. I loved the how they built that with the
You
just
think
the
the
little
heat would mess up or something? You think the heat would
I
be
don't
too
know,
much
like
for
the
those
little
contact mics?
metal. They were like little metal strands, right? I mean, it's like little pieces of steel or something.
It was like a contact mic or a trigger, or it must be something.
I think it was
sound or
maybe a trigger. So when it would touch it, the mic probably. Well, no, it wasn't a mic, right? It was a trigger, so it would trigger the drums.
Right. Okay.
But still, it did seem like that would be hot. But maybe I don't know, it's steel or something, so steel wouldn't melt.
So.
But I did like that. And then every time a piece of popcorn would pop and hit one of them, it would trigger one of the drums.
Yeah, it was wild.
All of a sudden we have like a drunk John Bonham playing a guitar solo. It's pretty amazing.
Oh my God, that's so good. So what do we have? Oh yeah, Brian Gibson.
Yes,
the other half of Lightning Bolt. I feel so fortunate to have been able to sit down with him. I feel like it was not an easy interview to pull together. I think he doesn't do many interviews, or as many interviews as Chippendale does.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like I love the idea. I was thinking of a good month for you would be 2-person band month.
Yeah,
and you guys could all get together
one at a time though, because they'll never do them at the same time.
Just one of them.
Just one from a 2-person band.
One person from a 2-person band, and then the other person the next week.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that's
so. You do 2 bands.
Yeah. So you 2. Okay, yeah, sure. That'd be
2 bands in a month.
You could do a Big Business.
Start out with the White Stripes.
And
Big Business.
Jack White. That'd be easy. Yeah, if it was hard to get Brian Gibson, definitely you can get Jack White. No problem.
Yeah.
I feel like
Big Business. I forget.
I feel like I've talked so much shit about Jack White that I don't think I'd ever interview him. I don't think he would ever say yes to an interview. He probably doesn't know about it, but I just don't think I've ever been a Jack White fan.
Yeah, I feel like
it's one of those ones I would be able to go like, I get it. I know he's a popular person.
He's an interesting one because he's a business guy, and you could tell from the beginning that there's like there's a business acumen to the setup. He's like the hustler.
Yeah. Oh, he's horribly successful. I mean, he's like he's rich. He's been rich for a long time. So he's obviously doing this correct. I don't think it's necessarily a jealousy thing. I don't think I was a fan of their music. I think I remember when it was like White Stripes and like the Strokes and all these things. I was like, yeah, but it just sounds like he's trying to do like a Led Zeppelin impersonation. Like the falsetto voice and like this kind of like stripped down bluesy white British blues thing. I don't know. I just never really was a fan of the blues in that kind of way. And that I don't know. I just always felt a little like this isn't that interesting or original or particularly challenging in any particular way, shape, or form.
Felt like it had already been done a little bit. It's like a twist on an old thing.
I know, right? Am I just petty? Should I just say, "Hey, Seven Nation Army is a great song. Way to go."
I don't know. I don't know if it's petty. I could see the.
I don't actively dislike them. But I think when it was always brought up, and then as our band was a 2-piece, like, oh, you guys like the White Stripes. You guys must be big fans of the White Stripes.
That's what I was going to say.
No, we're not.
That's what I was going to say.
Like the Black Keys or those kinds of things. I'm like, no.
Well, the Black Keys and the White Stripes, or the Black Keys and Jack White got like one of them punched the other one out.
They're not friends.
They're not. No, and they're both from Detroit, I think. Right.
I have no idea.
I think they're both from Detroit. Oh yeah, I think it's a whole thing.
Oh God, okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But you can also still not like both of them.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad that's cleared up.
I'm giving you the okay.
Am I allowed to not like both of these shitty bands?
I feel like I can only not like one of them.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that I'm sure that a lot of that stems from being in the same era of those bands. And then also being a 2-piece, when everyone's like, "Oh yeah, there's all these 2-pieces because of the White Stripes," and you're like, "No, that's not why."
Yeah, right.
We just are a 2-piece, and then it just happened to be okay, same time.
But I think Jack White's always kind of been this way. I'd heard stories, from like early days, like that it was always about branding and about kind of this like oversized ego and sort of pompousness.
I mean, the fact that they wore the exact same matching black and red uniforms for 5 years.
Yeah. I think branding and marketing is probably his biggest, attribute.
And Meg never got to talk. That whole part.
Yeah. I don't know enough to understand exactly what's going on with it all, but it always kind of sat with me. It's sort of funny, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is as genuine and heartfelt as it's portrayed to be.
I do feel like it was a weird moment in music. Those like 2000 to what, like 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Or when did you guys start? 2007?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. 2006, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was a weird, like.
But we were playing in the other band, the 3-piece band before that too. So,
yeah.
Dean and I think started playing music in 2000.
Okay.
And then ostensibly we still play music now, 25 years later.
I love that ostensibly.
Is that the correct use of that word?
I think so.
I could be wrong.
I think there's probably multiple uses of that word. Nobody knows even what it means, but they know that when you put it in front of certain words, it's like, I think this is where you put it, but you're like, what does ostensibly mean? And you go, kind of.
It sounded right at the time, but I have to tell myself that I don't know if that's the correct word.
Does it mean kind of, ostensibly? It's like pretty much. Maybe it means pretty much. Somewhat.
It means relating to childbirth or obstetrics. For example, the obstetric ultrasound is an ultrasound performed during pregnancy.
Wait, that's not ostensibly. You typed in the wrong word, Randy.
Did I?
Are you telling us something? Apparently or purportedly, but perhaps. Oh my God, this is a great definition. Apparently or purportedly, but perhaps not actually.
Oh, all right. There we go. That's perfect. I think your typos are less than my typos.
Yeah. You're like, I think Dean's pregnant.
Yes, I think this is what
that's what this sounds like. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody.
Wait, no, what is it? How do you even spell it? Maybe that's my problem. I'm not spelling
ostensibly. I spelled it wrong. It's with a OS. OS 10 SIBLY.
Oh Lord, yeah, obstetrics having to do with
obstetrics. You're like, no, that still means like having to do with pregnancy.
Apparently, purportedly, but not actually. But perhaps not actually. Yeah,
perhaps I like the perhaps in there.
Perhaps not actually.
Perhaps not actually. Perhaps but maybe.
Not actually. Could be. Sure, why not?
That's a good word. God,
ostensibly.
That is ostensively.
Obstetric.
There's no B in there.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning.
At the end.
It's Austin. Yeah.
Ostensibly. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. Booby trap.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Booby trap.
Well, there was this one Simpsons where they talked about ostensibly.
I can tell you. Good Lord. Yeah. The writer likes the Simpsons a lot now, so he watches modern Simpsons, and I'm constantly like, those aren't the good ones. You got to watch the old ones. But I don't want to be the old man shaking his fist at the cloud. I want to support the new Simpsons ideas, the new Simpsons shows. But
how about this Simpsons
so far
meme?
Away from it.
The Simpsons meme of the fact that the Simpsons like have
predicted the future,
but then it turns out that a lot of those memes are made up later after the thing. And that people just made fake Simpsons episodes and said that they were like, it actually said that Trump was coming down the staircase or whatever. No. And they're like, no, that wasn't in a Simpsons at all. It's not even real. And then it goes everywhere and people are like, this is crazy. The life is crazy. We're in the Matrix, the Simpsons Matrix.
I do believe that. I'd go for that one.
Although with Matt Groening going to the island, maybe it is real.
He knew maybe things.
It's true.
He's seen. So that was video game month. I feel like video game month came and went. I was hoping I would learn more about video games, but looking back, I don't think I asked enough questions about video games. I think
this is a conversation podcast. I don't know if it's an interview podcast.
I did have several video game interviewees, though. Be surprised I did not ask them more about them making video games.
I love that you
wrapping up the interview. It was like, we didn't even ask me anything about video games. I'm like, sorry. We ran out of time.
You're like, well, I don't know anything about video games. Why would I ask you about video games? Come on, what do you think? I'm crazy?
It's not that interesting. I don't really have any interesting questions because I don't know anything about them. It was hard.
I was thinking too that after this whole thing, especially when Brian was talking and mentioned the video game Thumper. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Thumper.
That I looked it up on YouTube, and it was like 15 minutes of someone playing Thumper, and I just watched, and it was very hypnotic.
Oh,
did you watch it at all? So it's kind of like it looks like guitar. It's like kind of like the Guitar Hero, where there's like the lines, path coming towards you, and then there's a bunch of dots. But this was like more of a beat driven thing, and super like futuristic looking spaceship kind of, at least the level that I watched.
That's awesome.
And I couldn't even really tell how you play. It seemed like there was like this thing would come towards you, and you'd kind of try to hit it, and it would make this kind of really repetitive, cool beat to it. Mm-hmm. And I just sat there and watched it for like 10 minutes and was like, oh, this is, and if there's music, there's kind of music playing, and you're adding to the music. And it was really cool and weird. And it reminded me of a couple games. Like the only real video games that I like are those kind of video games that don't really have a beginning and an end. I feel like there was one that we used to play that were like, you were on kind of a pyramid, and it was like this girl that was on a pyramid, and she was trying to find her way through. No, this was much later than that, 5 years ago. I'll have to find it. Okay. But you're like kind of trying to figure out these little blocks, move these blocks so you can find the path to get around and get to the top of the pyramid without these crows catching you and all this stuff. But it just kind of went on forever, and it just had this really chill music. There was like unlimited lives. You could just sit there and try it forever, and you're trying to figure out these puzzles. And then you realize you're playing for an hour, and it's very chill. And even if you get like caught by the crows, I feel like, I don't remember what, they just catch you, and they're like saying nonsensical words to you or something, and then you just start over. It's not like there's no blood or guts or anything. But it reminded me of that idea of like you're kind of watching. It's like a watching game. Whoa. You're kind of just watching TV, but you're also playing. And there's no stress. You're just chilling out. Hanging out. Cool. And his game kind of reminded me of, maybe it's like that. But I have to look it up and see if I can play it. But it reminded me that Travis Millard someone used his artwork for like a kind of a spaceship flying game.
That sounds cool.
And the spaceship is a middle finger flying through the air, and you're like shooting. It's like a, I don't know what kind of game you would call it. It's like a left to right. You're like a spaceship, and everything's
side scroller.
Probably, yeah. Like everything's coming towards you.
I say that like I know it. Yeah, I've read about.
I'm like, yeah. You know this, Randy. It's a side scroller, of course.
Side scroller,
right
like Contra.
Yeah, it's like a right to left side scroller. Yeah. And then you're going up and down. You're trying not to hit like the walls that are coming at you, and you're shooting things. And but all of the drawings and everything were based on all of his characters.
Oh, cool. And
I have to remember what the game is called, but awesome game.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah. Fun.
I don't know. I played Super Smash Brothers with our youngest, and that's confusing. I can't tell what's going on. Like, and the camera moves out, and like now you're far away, and all your little players are tiny, and there's like 4 or 5 different guys jumping on you and jumping on your head, and then the ground moves from underneath you. That was not relaxing.
I tried to.
That was a very unchill kind of thing. Like I was like, can we just do just the 2 of us, or we just fight like Street Fighter? He's like, I like it when there's all these people. I'm like, I don't think I can do this, bud.
I needed it to be insane, like the world, Dad.
Daddy.
Oh, right. I'm used to the world being.
I want an Oompa Loompa, Daddy.
I'm used to the world being kind of like you kind of feel like maybe there's a little bit of control in there, but you guys are used to this world that's like, no, the world is uncontrollable. It's insane. There's 1,000 things coming at you at all times. And really all we need to do is all learn the same dance. And as long as we all learn the same dance.
See, I almost think it's like the other side though too, where like the kids' lives are so controlled and so regulated. Like get up, they have someone to tell them when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when to go, and then they go to school, and then there's bells that ring every second. So to have this big chaotic, cathartic kind of like fighting game where you chop people's heads off or shoot fireballs out of your fingertips. Yeah. And there's 100 things going on, jumping on your head all the time. Then that's their fun outside of the thing. Where for us as adults, we know the world is a fucking spinning death reel happening at all times, and planes falling out of the sky, leaders who don't know what they're doing, and we're supposed to pay taxes on top of it, and you're just like stressed out all the time. So you want a game that's just kind of like, ooh, look, here's a calm lake. Doesn't that look nice? Hey, look, there's a ripple. There's a butterfly. Wow, what a game. I love this game.
I like skipping stones. I just throw the stones into the lake and watch it go plump, 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 plump.
I sat in our kids' treehouse this morning and had a cup of coffee and just picked up one of Ryder's like comic books that I, anyway, it's a comic book just sitting there, and I just like read a couple of pages of it. Just had a cup of coffee in the treehouse by myself this morning. It was very nice. I think I needed this kind of moment.
That's amazing.
Of just kind of sitting there, like no phone, no screen. No, and I came back in the house, and then our youngest wanted a new game on his iPad. The oldest had his binocular, or his like Oculus got meta glasses on, and they're all complaining that something wasn't working, or you needed a new code, or you got to recalibrate the mainframe and the thing. And I was like, guys, I'm about 5 minutes away from just saying the power's out, the electricity's down, and we're just going to live off the grid here for a few minutes.
I used to bring the trash can into the living room and just put it in the middle and go, all right, throw away whatever we're complaining about. I'm over it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, just throw it away. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, if you don't like it, it's totally, I understand. It
sounds good.
It seems like it's like having a friend that you just are not friends anymore, and sometimes you just need to walk away. And this is what some of this technology is like. I'll take the hit of losing a $200 metaverse
video game thing,
whatever.
If I never have to complain about it ever again.
Who knows what Zuckerberg's going to throw into that thing in the next month anyway?
Well, it won't be fact check, whatever it is.
Dad, did you know? Where did you get the information from?
Oh Lord. Yeah, man, it's tricky, but everything got really quiet after I said that. Everyone quieted down, and I played a little guitar, had a little acoustic guitar moment. I was like, all right, this is nice. I brought some of that quietness from the treehouse back inside the house. I was like, see, guys, this is all we need. Just stare out the window. It's good. It's a good thing.
They just slowly, like the Simpsons,
back away,
back into the fern.
Dad is
back into the
mind.
bushes. Like, I'm just going to back into the bushes and go into my room.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I feel like that was a skill I learned as a child. Just be quiet, stay out of eyesight, and no one's going to give you a hard time.
Dad is crashing out. I'm going to crash out, guys.
Yeah. So everybody stay away from Dad. He's having a dilemma of the modern world. The modern world has gotten to him. He's done his best to avoid the news, and the news has found him.
I've gotten very used to just for like 5 minutes freaking out over like Elon Musk getting control of like the federal like system or whatever, any of that stuff, and then going, I'll do my best.
I watched some of the RFK Jr. Hearing.
The roast. The RFK Jr. roast. Oh my God. I mean, let's just jump in here.
It's just hard, yeah.
I heard a couple interviews. So there were a couple like kind of political type talk shows that I listened to, or whatever, two people talking to each other. Yeah. A couple of them are like someone who's a little left and someone who's a little right, and they're kind of debating things or whatever. And this was like when things were somewhat normal-ish, a year ago. And they brought on RFK to talk. And this is where, I think this is actually where, when you and I started talking, and I was like, I feel like everybody all of a sudden is starting to take all these people seriously, and it's weirding me out. And that they're not like, when they go crazy, when they go to the crazy questions or the crazy answers, people aren't going, wait, what did you say? Wait, say that again. Yeah. And they just keep going. And I'm like, wait, why do you keep going? Why didn't you stop him?
Yeah.
And he has all these things, right? That he is like, well, I was the number one prosecutor of chemicals in the river when, all of these things that are true, or I don't know, whatever, true-ish, have truth in them. And then he starts going off on his vaccine stuff and everything. And then they called him on just one little thing. And he, like, you could hear it in his voice that he was so angry that they were like, that they had called him on this thing. Like, well,
dare to question
wait a
anything.
sec.
Can you explain that again? Can you go over that again? Yeah.
But it was something that he had just said flippantly of like, well, you know, like 70% of children have autistic, you know, whatever he said was just like a kind of a weird, like
a baseless,
fact. Just baseless. And they were like, oh, do you actually have is there a study for that? And it was something like that. And he's like, well, how would you treat this? How would you even believe the studies that, and I was like, oh,
that was just questioning science in general.
He's only
put
been
the whole system on trial. Yeah.
But he's only been on this show for like 15 minutes, maybe 10. And he like just his strong lost argument. Like, oh, I don't know. Well, yeah. I don't think, like, how would you feel if all of a sudden your child, and just went off on that kind of like anecdotal, but like, we're not talking about anecdotal stuff. Like, you're literally saying things as if they're fact. And we're like, oh, send me the article so we can post that. Like, well, I don't know if there's, I mean, like, there's so many articles.
You can't believe what science says. Just believe what I say.
And I'm like, oh my God, you guys tell him he's not allowed on, like, just be like, okay, well, if this is how you're going to argue, you got to go. This isn't working.
Sounds good, buddy. We'll see you next week. Can't wait.
Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, why is he getting more and more popular? And he's just like the spouting nonsense kind of gibberish stuff. Wait, he's really doing it? And then a year later, I'm like, oh my God, wait, he's going to be the Health and Human Services, whatever he's going to be. I don't think he even knows what he's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we don't quite know what anything is going to be anymore.
Yeah. I remember Donald Rumsfeld, and then, like, you remember all of that stuff, and you're like, yeah, but most of the time that he talked, you were like, well, he's got horrible ideas, but he's kind of backing them up. Although now when you listen back to those, you're like, oh, well, they were like completely making people up and they're like, no, this guy told us there was weapons of mass destruction. And they're like, well, that's the guy.
Well, there was some kind
has been
of
lying to you for like 10 years.
Logical motivation behind, there's self-serving interests, or there was some type of,
we want your oil
malfeasance that you could at least understand. It wasn't just absolutes.
Well, they weren't.
You know what I mean? There wasn't just ego, grandizements and just strange, falsehoods.
They weren't physically just trying to destroy the government. They were trying to work within these confines of like, no, we still want the American government.
Here's our strategy.
To go ahead. We just want it to work for us better.
Right.
But we're not trying to just like burn the whole thing down. And now it's like, no, we're like, there's not laws now. So that's where we're going for.
Best that I can understand it is phase one of the plan is to so degrade the quality of life for anyone who's not in the 1%, that to take down the standard of living so low that people will stop fighting, and then will just do anything they can to get back to where they once were. You know what I mean? Like, you start starving the dog and it'll take the fight out of them, and then you give them little scraps when you can and say, okay, are you done fighting? Are you done fighting? Are you done fighting? And then get everybody subservient enough with the high cost of products, of basic groceries. You know what I mean? When people really start, dying, when they realize that there's a war on the lower class and the middle class, which was going to be destroyed, and then everybody will have to fall in line, and then if they want to get back to where they were, the quality of life that they had prior to this Trump administration, then they're going to have to, kiss the boots and jump through the hoops and sign all the loyalty clauses in order to get back to get to the grocery stores of, the products they can afford, or to get back into the house or in the neighborhood where they once lived before they were removed, but other places. There's a certain kind of level, I think, where it's just right, we're experiencing now is just the first phase of the all-out attack of the middle class and lower class across race, across everything, but including those things as well. There's obviously a racist agenda to it as well.
Well, what I don't understand about that is that just seems, for anybody's bottom line, or for anybody who has a business that's trying to sell products or anything like that, which it seems like most of them are, that, especially these being like business leaders or whatever, the CEOs and stuff, is that making people more poor, or making it more difficult for them to survive seems like it would ruin the ability for those people to purchase your products.
Right.
And that destroying the economy when like your money and worth is held up in, I guess, unless you're investing in private prisons, then
your products are for the luxury class only, and you'll sell less, but you'll sell them for 10x more. You know what I mean?
But it seems like it just seems like you're biting the hand that feeds, and like the hand that feeds is actually the people that are buying your stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you're treating them worse and they have a harder time and they can't buy houses and can't get a new car and all that.
But if you think about how much you'll save in taxes, and when you don't have to pay taxes on your product by supporting this thing, you can save money and then also reduce the quality of your product. Now there's no Food and Drug Administration overlooking the unsafe products that you sell.
Right. So you can bring you can make it cheaper, garbage in there and make it cheaper, and
and you don't have to pay a minimum wage anymore to your employees. So
right.
if you're actively poisoning poor people with fast food, then it's a win-win. And there's no healthcare system. There's no one's gonna have to pay for these people.
We don't have to pay for all that stupid stuff.
Yeah. This is the kind of dystopian
you know what, Randy?
That I'm getting from this.
You've convinced me. I'm in.
I don't think it's a good thing. I'm just saying I think this is what it feels like is happening. You know what I mean? That they're just destroy the middle class. Everybody's gonna be an upper class, and you have like all of these 80s dystopian, sci-fi things, whether it's you want to say it's Mockingbird or what's it called, the Hunger Games, or all this sort of stuff. It's the only way capitalism can go is to where there's only the rich and everyone else is poor and groveling.
Well, and this is like
to do the work. That's the only way you win the game of capitalism.
Well, and have you watched Squid Games?
No, that's the one with SpongeBob where he's frying the thing. Is that the guy? The guy that works the cash register? That's Squidward. Oh, Squidward.
Have you ever heard of Squid Games?
Squid Games. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Squidward Games is the offshoot. That's amazing. Yeah, that's actually we can ask AI to make a game called Squidward Games. And see like what it comes up with. I should actually ask. Do you think we could ask ChatGPT that right now?
To write for a script.
Write a script
for the kids reality show.
Yeah,
Squidward Games. Yes.
Make it real violent, but okay for kids.
And Mr. Krabs will be there to protect the secret formula.
Yeah. No. So with Squid Games, what came out a couple years ago, or last year maybe, and then sorry, my cat is like bothering me. Speaking of real life problems, my cat Leo loves when I'm doing something else, and then he's like, "Oh, here, I'm going to knock down your plant." Oh my god!
I'll give you a second to. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I'm back. But that with Squid Games, right? It's like it's an obvious critique on capitalism. It's like all these people who are. At least I guess we're watching season 2. I watched a little bit of it, and it's they get all of these compulsive gamblers and they just pull them off the street, and then they put them in this game, and basically the game is that you're trying to get level to level to level, and if you don't compete that level, they have this whole army of Squid Games army or whatever who comes in and just shoots you. So they just kill all the people who don't make it. They pull their bodies out, and then everybody else, if you still exist, the pot of money available goes up. So for every person is worth a certain amount of money, and then if they die, that money goes into the pot, and all of the surviving people get to keep that money if they get to the end. And then every so often they have to vote whether they want to split the money that's in the thing, that's in the pot, or carry on, and the last surviving person wins like $40 million or something. I don't know what the final is. And it's kind of a dark comedy. Like there's comedic parts to it. And it's really brightly lit and kind of fun, like a game show. And it's shot like a fun game show, but it's just super violent. And you're watching this and then you're just like, yeah, this is like maybe one of the best critiques of just really specific capitalism that can be.
Wow.
Now, going to middle school and the kids coming in are now obsessed with Squid Games. They're all watching it. Right. And so they know it's like a Korean show. And then, and so there's like some people are speaking Korean, some people are speaking English, like all this stuff. And they're coming in and like, they all want to like make the games because they play some of these like traditional Korean games to have to go forward. And but they all watch it just as a show. And I'm like, this is where the disconnect is. There's actually all this information about how bad this like super crazy capitalism is. But then everything is wrapped up in this kind of entertainment of it that people are like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would stay in there for the money. And like, whoa, no, this is not what this show is about. This show is about like, this is horrible.
I mean, I could beat that.
This looks like,
I mean, I'm pretty fast.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I do feel like there's all these critiques, but there really is this like, well, that's never going to happen, you know, or like, well, it's never going to get that bad or whatever. And then you watch this thing. It's like that. I saw a great quote today. Like the New York Times was kicked out of the press room or whatever for the White House briefings, right? Like New York Times doesn't have a seat in there anymore. And someone just bringing up like, okay, so New York Times, now how do you feel about when everybody is begging you to like write some real stories about Donald Trump and all these things? They're like, it's not going to, listen guys, this is a presidential run. It's not going to be that bad. And then 2 weeks in, you're kicked out of like you don't even have a seat at the table. And you're like the biggest newspaper in the nation. It's like, oh no, this stuff actually happens. It's okay. I mean, they're not like, you know, it's not technically Squid Games, but ideas there. They may run with it.
Can I read you what ChatGPT has to say about a synopsis of the children's reality show Squidward Games?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, the first one was kind of cute, and I was like, no, make it, more violent. And then that was still kind of cute. And I was like, no, make it not safe for children.
Oh, children game not safe for children.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Squidward Games is a twisted high-stakes competition show that throws young, desperate contestants into a brutal underwater arena designed by the cynical, manipulative Squidward tentacles. In this dystopian version of Bikini Bottom, Squidward has grown tired of his mundane life and seeks to amuse himself by pitting participants against one another in a series of deadly psychological games. Only the strongest, most ruthless contestants survive, and only one will emerge victorious.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. The dystopian world. The arena itself is an abandoned, decaying underwater city, once vibrant, now filled with the remnants of Squidward's past failed ventures. The contestants live in a harsh condition, forced into cramped quarters where paranoia and tensions run high. The setting is oppressive and dark, with eerie dim lighting and a constant sense of danger lurking over every corner. Here we go.
This sounds good. Like that actually is a very good critique of Trump in the new presidency.
Right.
Just put Trump instead of Squidward. Because it's like all these failed ventures and this horrible stuff. And now he just wants to torture people. Because life didn't quite turn out like he wanted.
Key features, deadly games. The games become increasingly violent and dangerous. Contestants may have to cross an unstable, crumbling bridge suspended over a vast pit of sharks or navigate in an underwater maze filled with traps and aggressive sea creatures. A seemingly simple game like musical chairs turns into a life or death struggle with chairs rigged to release poisonous gas or drop participants into hazardous areas.
Wow.
All right. Squidward's role as the host is not just to moderate the games, but to manipulate and psychologically torment the contestants. He taunts them with his bitter commentary, pushing their limits, playing mind games, and reveling in their suffering. He may secretly alter the rules, setting traps or intentionally creating alliances between contestants, only to have them turn on each other for his amusement. So that sounds very Trumpian. There we go.
Yeah, that's definitely the last 2 weeks.
Trump's role as president is not just to moderate the country, but to manipulate and psychologically torment the citizens. He taunts them with his bitter commentary, pushing their limits and playing mind games and reveling in their suffering. He may secretly alter the laws or the Constitution, setting traps or intentionally creating alliances between citizens and class and race groups, only to have them turn on each other for his amusement.
And releasing billions of gallons of water into an area where the water will evaporate and not be able to be used when we do not have water this summer. There you go.
Perfect.
Oh, so we won't be able to grow food in California this summer. Amazing.
Sounds right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fun.
The sixth largest economy in the world, is going to be try to be bankrupt by the president of the thing to see if if they'll fall in line, and so to get.
I'm helping you with your fires.
The
Actually, I am trying to bankrupt your state.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. So back to
so when people wonder
Brian Gibson,
why are you like sound like you're gonna cry, when you read these intros and outros or when you say these things. I don't know. It's just I guess there's this little peek into where the darker recesses of the brain go. In this first month, now beginning of second month of 2025.
Yeah,
but it can't get any worse, right? This is the worst. January is the worst month so far.
It's
not like this is going to be going on for 4 more years.
There's nothing we could look back in history to see where a once thriving country and economy has maybe not done so well after certain people were brought into power. That's never happened, right?
I don't know.
I can't think of anything. It's always on the up and up.
Yeah.
Always on the up and up.
Music and creativity matter.
I do have to say that is the bright side of this is usually that historically it seems like the art and music of cultures is the thing that survives, is the thing that makes it through or helps people make their ways through. Like without kind of music and culture and art and people coming together to like experience the same thing in a positive way, birthday parties, quinceañeras, like these kind of things are truly the things that keep people going.
Communities can kind of hang together.
Yeah. And honestly, I think a lot of this, and I think that this is what the problem that the Democrats maybe have had, is that there really wasn't that huge difference between the Democrats and Republicans, right? Like they're all millionaires at a minimum.
Like as a political party, you mean as people running the country?
Yeah, as people running and like, we're gonna bring these people up on stage with us that we say we're gonna help, and then when everything's done, really we're like trying to help the big businesses and economy. And I think what could be done much more is to lift up people that have gone through these experiences and grew up poor or have struggled to organize in poor areas, and actually listen to them and actually take the advice of that kind of struggle, because I think that there's way more voters and people that are struggling that kind of message in a realistic way and not just a like pandering way would be extremely beneficial and enlightening to people that are on both sides of, or all sides of whatever aisle there is.
Right. Yeah. Trying to bring people together.
Yeah. I mean, but also, but like really listening to people who are really going through it instead of just like, who can we use for this photo op? But really, we're trying to all, get our buddies in, which, whatever. That's what governments always do. It's not like there's ever representation of poor people in any kind of government.
Sure.
Maybe local there is, but
yeah,
like when you get to that state and national, it's like there's like a lot of lip service given, but if we actually listen to those people who are truly trying to lift up these underserved communities, I think that there would be a lot of people on both sides of the aisles kind of coming together to support that. But
yeah, but so much of it just comes down to spin. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like it's in a perfect world sort of situation, but I feel like there's always, if it's not, if you can't blame the problem on your opponent, what good is a problem? You know what I mean? There's only weapons out there, no solutions. As long as you just keep attacking the other side with everything.
Yeah,
seems to be the bigger like fight in all of it, rather than coming up with solutions. Like, just keep attacking the other one. Nothing ever gets done. You never really solve anything as if you're always on the attack or the defense.
Yeah. Well, and it's tough. Like there was a big protest that I learned about on Instagram today, downtown, right? Mm-hmm. Or Alameda Street, I think, shutting down the freeway.
That sounds good.
And those kind of things, which I feel like those are the kind of actions that started the George Floyd stuff, and people started listening kind of during that whole era, whether I don't know, the other side just tends to wait it out, I think. That's what the conservatives are always very good at, waiting, just like, well, we'll just wait this one out, and then we have so much money behind us for all of our think tanks and everything. Like, we got a 20-year plan, we got a 40-year plan, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's that frustration, just leads to anger, and it's easy to feel hopeless. I think that's where it's like that cycle of frustration, and then with no real outlet, I think is what just feels like an explosive kind of situation. But
and even especially when you don't feel like the law is, I mean, and I know there's a lot of people in this world that the law is not on their side no matter what. But then when you feel like, even when you're looking at these people doing things and you're like, I thought this was illegal. Isn't this illegal to do?
Yeah.
You're like, what's that mean? I don't know.
Not when the president does it. Not when the president's, when the member of staff, or
staff, or like, who's going to sue? So we're going to sue them. And then what?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, right. If there's no one on top.
The members of the cabinet, they're not supposed to be able to sig hail, are they? They're not supposed to be able to throw Nazi symbols around. That doesn't seem illegal, but it's not technically illegal.
It's
in bad taste.
It's completely violent. It's definitely could be inciting violence, I would say, but teach to each their own.
But but if you incite a riot and take over the Capitol building and attack police officers, you're not actually a criminal, are you?
3 of those people are already back in jail or have died
since being pardoned.
Yeah. One woman had to go back to jail because she hit for drunk driving and killing somebody
as soon as she got out.
21. Oh. Well, from an old case. And then one guy, I feel like he was resisting arrest. He got pulled over, was resisting arrest, and like threatened a cop or something, and got shot. And then someone else,
he'll get pardoned again. How many times?
Not if it's state, you can't pardon a state crime.
Only federal crimes.
Only if you try to take over the government. Not if you not drunk driving or whatever.
Not yet, until he passes the new
law. The new
there'll be a new executive order.
Pardon.
President can do whatever he wants to do.
Oh my God.
Order number 1, like, I make all the rules. Order number 2, no one can tell me what to do.
I just can't wait for his kids to fight to see who's going to take over his presidential family run. Those goofballs. We can put this one up in the. We'll come back to this one in a year and see See how
this aged. Yeah, this is our little our time capsule.
Oh my God, it's going to be like Rosie.
I'm calling all out class warfare, where it's the shanty towns have given all lefty states have been burned down to the ground, and we're all podcasting out of cardboard boxes.
Yeah, but we'll still have the podcast. That's what's important.
Still be podcasting. Yeah.
Yes, we're still casting.
Never
Here's our new views for the day. It's freezing outside, but we still have our phones.
All right. Well, that sounds
that
good.
being said, lightning bolt.
Yep.
I do want to say this about lightning bolt.
Yes.
Brian Gibson. What I did think, I actually wrote. I haven't written notes down to talk about for a while, but I wrote some notes down. That when you guys were talking, I loved it when you guys were talking about being like in two piece bands and the relationships and all of that. And that's where I thought like, this would be great. I would love to hear way more people with the 2-person band thing. Cause I was in the 3-person band and it was weird enough, but there was always the like, did you hear what that guy said?
Oh yeah.
And there was like
sides. As soon as you had one more person to an organization, then now you have sides.
You have sides, but then there's also always someone in the middle that's the intermediary and like, okay, so this can work here. So you have more options where like you said, like it's way more cut and dry. Like you have to figure out like, okay, we either like each other or we don't kind of. And if we do, which is great. And if we like the music, this is great, but it's kind of all or nothing. Like either we both like it or we both, or it doesn't happen. Yeah. Which I think is really interesting.
Or both people are left dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Or there's a compromise where neither person actually likes it, but they both gave up something that the other person wanted. So then you could survive to the next day. So, and that's probably what happens, most often that, both people are kind of miserable in
it. But it seemed like you're miserable, but you actually have, I feel like there's something like knowing that you have at least 50% of the vote is very empowering.
Yeah.
Whereas as a 3-piece, it seems like for most of the bands I knew, there always ended up being a leader.
Yeah.
And then the other people were either happy with that or they quit.
There's the leader and then there's the bass player. There's the leader, the drummer, and the bass player.
Yeah.
And the leader and the drummer have to figure out how to get along. The bass player has to stand there.
Well, and you're never kicking out the drummer because they have drums.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
because it's hard to find someone with drums.
Yeah. And usually the drummer is the bully,
Yeah. And they always have the practice space too, because they have the drums.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's usually how it goes.
A lot of power.
Yeah. But I thought that, it was interesting. He said that he looked at the band as the output of a relationship between 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that you're working these things out and then it's like the output of a relationship, which I think was just an interesting way to think about a band instead of like, hey, we're being creative and we're putting our ideas. And you're like, no, this is what we worked out. This is literally
2 people have figured this out. Yeah.
Yeah. But we worked stuff out and some of it didn't get in and some of it did. And this is my part and this is the fight. But it's this output of a relationship, which I thought was a really interesting visual way to think of a band as like the output, like the physical output of a relationship, which was like, it just made me think of actual friendships and stuff. And like, sometimes those friendships I had a gallery with friends and that was the output of our friendship was this gallery for literally this gallery for 3 years. Right. And the output of that friendship was like, oh, I want to do this show. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. That
way
too
happen.
expensive
not
or
that
watch. That can't, or for whatever reason. And it's like the output of these kind of friendships as art, I thought was like a really cool idea. And then him saying that him having a solo project or what he would want to do and putting that aside and then going, well, this actually works for this relationship. Like our band has these parameters. And so we all have to take like whatever things that we love that are outside of those parameters and put those away and then like find out what's inside these parameters that both of us have agreed on, and like make art within that. And I thought that was interesting too, because that's also what makes being in a band so unique, is that like there's not very many bands like, we're going to do our country record, like maybe Beck. I don't know, like,
but it's not
like
a
there's
band.
a couple
it's a person.
people,
It's a
right, and he's has his thing.
Yeah,
but so many bands that like we've kind of made these guideposts because you have to, because it can't be insane. It can't be so insane that everyone's like, oh, I don't like the country songs. You know, like you have to make this thing of like, well, here's where we are. You like this. And I just loved that, that idea of how hard it is to make art that works, even for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
To make art that works, that you can actually pay your rent with, or you can survive on, you can have all these amazing experiences from like, well, we have this idea and we're making this output, and for whatever reason, other people are responding to that for a certain amount of time. And that is like those are the things. I think kind of politics, like all these things, like you get those people that come together and they're like, we're going to organize our neighborhood. And like people have tried that forever. Like, nope, the three of us, for whatever reason, our ideas work. And I think that was the really positive thing that I thought about your guys' conversation about talking about that. Like, I don't even know why I do it. I just feel like I had to do it. And there's that, I think that's that like positive human spirit that like just pushes things forward of like, well, I don't know, I guess my only thing I can do right now is write a song about this.
Yeah.
When
faced with no other options, take to the stage, takes to the stage, go to the studio, grab an instrument, grab a microphone, say something, do something.
And sometimes that also might put like the right 20 people in the right room at the right time to change things. I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, you hear this musically in the past of like, everybody was in whatever bar it was in or club that Jimi Hendrix played in.
God, yeah. London.
And they're like, we were all there. And that just like completely changed the course of music. Well,
I think Lightning Bolt has done that. I think especially in those early days too, Lightning Bolt, would go on these tours and play these shows that I think just for, at least the ripple, was there for years.
Totally.
I think I was at some of those shows, when they played The Smell, and there's just things just like, this is insane.
What
changes the whole creative center of gravity in these small DIY scenes, they would play in the beginning, and it was like, whoa.
It's like crazy. One band starts 100 bands.
Right. Totally. And I think they were that band. They're definitely a Johnny Appleseed of noise. And two pieces as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Two guys making a racket on drums and bass, or drums and guitar. I think, No Age is definitely an acolyte, or an offshoot of Lightning Bolt.
Like ostensibly,
ostensibly for now. Ostensibly, yeah. Speaking pediatrically, we're definitely
they kind of birthed this baby that you guys then had to take care of
obstetrically.
Obstetricianally.
Yeah.
But I do think the first time I saw Lightning Bolt was on a DVD.
Oh,
you remember that DVD?
The Power of Salad.
Is that what it was? The first. It was like came out in 2000 something, 2000 something. And I was watching it at my friend Bruce Gilbert's house. He was like, dude, you got to see this. Someone just gave me this band Lightning Bolt. And I feel like it may be even just
before the internet.
Yeah. It may have just had like a lightning bolt drawn on it or something. He put it in and we just watched it. And they were like, it was the tour, and they were playing in those kids' house in Texas, like in their kitchen. And if you've ever seen Lightning Bolt, you know how loud they are. And they're just playing in this kid's kitchen for like 10 people. And I was like, what is this? Is this a joke? Like, I thought it was like a parody of something.
Art piece or something.
Yeah. And then, they were probably, I'm sure there was stuff at Fort Thunder, if that even existed, or wherever their space was. But it was just about them going to all these places and kids, I don't know, calling and booking them. And they're like, okay, we'll play at your friend's house or whatever. And then going to see them at Spaceland and just being like, what the band was playing on stage, that band before them, whoever it was. And the second that band stopped, we turned around and they had set up right behind us.
Yeah.
In the back on the floor. We didn't even know. They just slowly kind of set up, and they had people like kind of standing there. And we just turned around and they were playing like 5 feet away, and just, they didn't stop for like, 45 minutes. I don't know. You were probably there.
Yes. Religious. It's a religious experience.
And it was amazing. And people who have gone to the shows before are like, oh, I'm going to be the guy that holds the bass drum. And so someone goes down, because obviously Brian plays so hard. Well, Brian drummer.
Chippendale. Yeah.
Chippendale. And when he plays, the drums just don't stop for the whole song. It's just consistent. And so his bass drum's slowly moving forward, and someone always has to just sit and hold the bass drum. So then you sit and hold the bass drum, and then someone's like putting the cymbals back up every time they fall down, and then like trying to get Brian Gibson not to just get smashed into so his amp doesn't fall over. And there's this whole like community, like kind of guarding, but still not, like making sure that all this stuff is okay. I mean, it was amazing. Insane. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. I don't know. I saw them 2 or 3 times, and I think I saw them once play on stage, which was a different experience, but still amazing.
Yeah.
I do have this. I have to send you these photos, because I have one photo of, it's just a crowd of people around Chippendale drumming, like from up above. And then
this is at Spaceland, do you think?
At Spaceland, definitely. And then one with, I don't even know if there's people in this one. I have to see, but it's Brian Gibson, because the first one is just chaos. It's just people and it's chaos, and then the one of Brian Gibson, he's just holding his bass and he's just calmly looking over. He's playing, but he's just super stoic and just looking to the right.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's perfect. Like, I feel like even with that band, he barely even moved.
The storm. Right. Well, that's interesting too. In the conversation, he kind of said that was his role, or that was his version of a performance, was to just see how still he could stay while things just got more and more insane all around him, you know, and he didn't want to have any kind of larger than life, visual aesthetic or physical aesthetic in any kind of way. Right. That was almost part of the his conception or his vision for how to do it. It was like, how normal could I look while this whole thing happens?
Well, and there's totally, and they're two totally different. Like, there's such different energy between the two of them, and I just thought that him just talking about that too, like that reminded me of him going like, oh yeah, I tried the mask thing and we had these things, and I was like, I don't think I need that. That's not me. I'm just going to do my thing. And then I always just thought that they were like if you just took almost like drum and bass, like electronic music,
drum and bass,
and then but theirs is so unique because Brian's drumming is so insane. But the only thing that normalizes it and kind of makes it catchy is Brian's bass, and just going, no, he's going to do his own thing, kind of melody, and I'm going to just make sure that he's kind of on rhythm the whole time, but just like with this and it's so melodic and crazy that you forget how loud and insane it is, and it just becomes this like, I'm just gonna sit and listen. I don't even know what to do. This is insane.
Did you ever see Hella? It was another 2-piece, but out of Sacramento.
No,
Zach Hill and Spencer.
No, I know of them.
They were great. They were great. Kind of along those lines too. But yeah, it was guitar and drums, and the guitar was kind of math rocky in sort of ways. It was real like arpeggiated and syncopated.
Yeah.
But another, just wild time. There was a lot.
Amazing.
There was a lot of energy there for two people to make.
There was a lot.
That was not based on the blues in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Or British people.
Like, it was more based on almost like electronic music. That vibe of like, just repetitive. Yeah. Well, like, we're going to get you into a trance. Kind of.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah, I know. I took away from that. I liked when he was saying the idea was to not sound like anyone else, or to make music that didn't sound like anything else. And I thought that echoed what Dave Pajo was saying too, or
Right.
Slint, and looking at, those two bands like Lightning Bolt and Slint were definitely genre defying, and so hyper influential bands that, did something that had never been done before or really since. No one else, for being as unique as they were, they influenced a lot of people, but no one ever really did it like that.
Yeah. Like so much. And then it's also timeless. Like I feel like Slint is completely timeless and Lightning Bolt is timeless. Like it doesn't have that like, oh yeah, this was during the kind of
sounds like they
disco
were
rock early 2000s. Like
this was new wave. This was
like nope. It will exist as Lightning Bolt forever, and it will never have a time.
A singularity. Yeah.
Yeah. And people are going to find it over and over again over the years and go, what? This is insane. And it's just it will always exist. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, I think too that, I think those types of proclamations, I think so many bands say that, we don't sound like anything else. And you hear them and it's like Greta Van Fleet or something. You're like, no, you sound exactly like someone else. What do you mean?
Yeah.
There's not
you even look like
body.
Someone else.
Yeah. This is the most unrealistic statement I've ever heard. But for those bands, I think to say that, and especially at that age, I think I've reflected on it a little bit even past since the interview. It's like, you have to be young and ambitious in a way that only happens at that age, where we can be inspired, but you can also believe it. You're like, I'm going to really make something that no one's heard before.
Yeah.
I think there's like a window of time where that can honestly be an authentic sentiment and really think you're going to do it, and not in a way where I'm going to combine this and combine that, or I'm going to do this and do that, but to really just have this. Because I think once you really start to study music, or you really start to study or knowing too much could be bad in some ways. You almost, the less you know, the better it is, or you're reacting to a small community. So it's like, we want to sound different than this community. I mean, so you have like strong examples of what not to do, and no real understanding of much of a world beyond that world. You know what I mean? So that, because with that critical mind of like, I don't want to sound like anything. And like, well, within a few clicks, you could on the internet or a streaming service or YouTube, you'd probably find something that sounds like this or sounds like that. But those, in the 90s and early 2000s, to be able to kind of have an isolated, small enough community and be young enough and ambitious enough to really set out to say those things, you could really accomplish it. And not saying that bands don't do that now. There isn't new, novel, and interesting music happening now, but I think there's this. It's a higher bar to cross. It's a higher threshold of originality that has to be done, because there is the accessibility of so much music is there, which could be a good thing. You could be influenced by all these things, or but to really say, want to sound like something that's never been made before. A sound that's never been made before, with the infinite possibility of hearing so much music or sounds in the world. Like,
ChatGPT, write me a song that's never been. That sounds like nothing ever heard before.
Write me a sentence that's never been written.
Oh wow, a sentence that's never been written. I've 10 word, 7-word sentence that's never been written. Yeah, it's weird because I do feel like listening to all these stories, and I do think that you're getting all of these, like you're actually interviewing a really great group of people that were in a really interesting time that I don't think has really been focused on yet. I think maybe it's starting to get focused on now. Like some show just came up on my thing, like in May. It was like, get ready for, and it was like Vampire Weekend. And it was all of these bands from like the early 2000s. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like when my parents took me to go see the Platters when I was in, no joke. I did the math and I'm like, this is like only about 4 years difference than when I went to see like the Platters when I was in middle school. At like a theater. My parents like, oh my God, this is the best. And it was for, early 60s, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, that was like 1985. So this is 25 years ago. These are the bands.
Yeah.
Wow. And these are like the bands after like Modest Mouse and stuff. This is like, but anyway, we're getting to that age, right? And talking to these people about that, like a lot of people that existed right before the internet exploded and then still exist or existed at their careers went through that arc, I think maybe hasn't really been examined all that much yet. So I think that it's cool to hear all the stories of like how much back then that was so unknown. There was so many more kind of unknowns and like, oh my God, we're going to change the world. And I don't know how much that is now. Like everything is so known that it's just going to create a different type of output, right?
Yeah.
Like because there's not, I think there's a lot more like, I don't know. You can find everything in a second.
The ability to accurately recreate things today is very high, which was, which I think in a lot of ways, even if you were influenced or wanted to recreate something, in the 80s, your limited supply of either information or resources,
right?
Was
you had a couple.
Something new would inevitably come out of it, even if you're wearing your influences heavy on your sleeve.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, you'd create this Paisley Underground world versus just a '60s psych pop, reproduction. It inevitably became something new.
Right, you'd have like a couple albums and a couple articles that you could go off. Yeah. I mean, even when like our favorite bands, big, huge bands back in the day, like when like Metallica would come out, they'd do like 3 interviews, right?
Right. Yeah.
They do like Rolling Stone, Spin Magazine, and like Metal Blade or whatever, like Kirk Hammett would have like the guitarist of the year or whatever, but there would be like 4 things. There wasn't like, you couldn't just go on their live feed and listen to Lars Ulrich talk about his like painting collection or whatever. It just didn't even, none of that stuff even existed. So it really was, you were like trying to fill in all of these like things, like even Rolling Stones interviews, there's probably not that many of them. Like if you really like from like the 60s to the 80s, there's probably only 1 or 2 a year, maybe.
Of what? What do you
like
mean?
an interview with Mick Jagger. Like he probably only did a couple interviews. Like,
no, well, this is where I'm going to hear from my mom now.
Yeah,
if my mom's still listening to the podcast at this point, Mom, you have to tell Aaron how many Mick Jagger interviews have there been?
But I mean, I'm just saying, like when they weren't on like the rotation for like on the road.
It wasn't a constant promotion. Yeah,
no,
you promoted for
were like
2 months, then you toured, and then you went in the studio, and you weren't
and go on Johnny Carson
something every day
or one of those, or whatever, and they'd have their stuff, but then you wouldn't hear from the band for like 2 years.
And that was normal,
right?
And you were excited. You're like, you couldn't wait to see what they're going to come up with next because you hadn't heard anything from them. There was no interviews.
And now it's literally every day. Hey, we're looking at the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's just a different time.
Yep.
It's a horrible time, Randy. I forgot to tell you.
Right. I forgot. Yeah.
I love how old we sound sometimes. It wasn't like back in my day. Although our kids literally did have to walk to school in like 2 feet of snow. So
good, uphill both ways.
That still happens
this week.
Yeah, that still happens.
That's good. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Godspeed You Black Emperor like audio clip on that raise your skinny fists in the air like antennas. Did you have that record? Like, it's not like it was. It's not like it was in my day. Okay, I'll insert it here. We'll see how this works.
Do that.
I did that last time, so I'll put that clip to end the show to play us out. What does it mean to play us out? We'll do it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Do it live.
We'll do it live.
Just do it live.
To play us out. All right. See you, man. I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Stay warm. Stay safe.
Later, Andy. You too.
Bye.
It was Coney Island. They called Coney Island the playground of the world. There was no place like it in the whole world, like Coney Island when I was a youngster. No place in the world like it. It was so fabulous. Now it shrunk down to almost nothing, you see. And I still remember in my mind how things used to be. And, I feel very bad. But people from all over the world came here. From all over the world. It was a playground. They call it the playground of the world over here. Anyways, but I even got, when I was very small, I even got lost in Coney Island, but they found me on the beach. And we used to sleep on the beach here. Sleep overnight. They don't do it anymore. Things changed, see. They don't sleep anymore on the beach.